Yes, at the third time of asking, NASA has launched its most powerful rocket ever, the Artemis 1.
3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition and liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
After two previously failed attempts, it took off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida late last night on an uncrewed mission that will see it orbit the moon for around 3 weeks. An A-plus launch, according to the NASA chief Bill Nelson. The mission is a test run of sorts. If it is successful in orbit, then NASA hopes that in 2024, Artemis 2 will take 4 astronauts back to the moon. With us from Houston, our good friend Leroy Chiao, former NASA astronaut and commander of the International Space Station. Leroy, it's great to see you. It's finally happened, and I imagine there is some relief at NASA headquarters.
Very much so. This rocket launch has been a long time coming. The exploration program in its original form began in 2004, so 18 years ago. This rocket has been in development since 2010, so 12 years in the making. A lot of controversy with schedule slip and budget overruns, and NASA really needed to get this rocket off, and so fortunately they did last night, and it looked like a flawless launch.
2 nail-biters ahead of the launch. There was another hydrogen leak. I want to talk about this red crew, the red crew that goes out with their wrench, because, I mean, this is a giant bomb that's sitting out there on the apron. How dangerous is this job that they have to go out and do before launch?
Well, I mean, it is a dangerous situation. You've got a fully fueled rocket. One spark could cause a catastrophe. And so these team members are extremely well trained, extremely well drilled on the precautions they must take. They go out there. This is their job. They go out there and they, tightened up the bolts that needed to be tightened. And fortunately, we're able to stop that errant hydrogen leak. And, frankly, I was skeptical whether they would be able to do this. As you recall, in previous launch attempts, there were several hydrogen leaks, and they tried to do similar things, and it really didn't work out. So fortunately, it all came together, and we were able to get this mission off.
Yeah, well done then. How is this different to the Apollo mission?
This is it's very similar in the big picture of what's trying to be done. Of course, we're trying to get astronauts to the surface of the moon. We're building up. This is the first launch of this rocket, first launch of this spacecraft. And so the Orion is going to be put through its paces over the next 2.5, 3 weeks. And it's going to do all kinds of maneuvers, test all its systems. It's already, I believe, unfurled its solar arrays. And so it's going to be a big shakedown of the vehicle. But the idea is the next launch will get astronauts actually to go around the moon, much like Apollo 8 did back in 1968. And then, of course, the goal is to get astronauts on the surface again. So as far as the big goals, it is more kind of like the Apollo program, but the bigger picture of the program is we want to do sustainable exploration, and we want to build a path to get astronauts to Mars also in a sustainable manner.
Mick Mulvaney, it did strike me in the context of what we were talking about earlier, the race for 2024, that whoever becomes president will very much like the idea of talking to people who are standing on the moon.
Yeah, Christian, you're asking the wrong guy. I know I'm on this program because I used to be the chief of staff to Donald Trump, but people might not know that before that I ran the Office of Management and Budget for 2 years, technically for 3. And I know as soon as I say those words, Mr. Chiao is cringing because he knows exactly what I'm going to say. I hate this program. I really do. I mean, why we're spending this much money and this much time to do what we've already done in 1968, I really don't know. But presidents love it. High-ranking members of Congress run it. I happen to think it's a complete waste of money that the private sector could do a lot more effectively and is starting to do a lot more effectively. So you're probably asking the wrong person about the Artemis program.
That is why I put Caroline between you. I disagree, Caroline. I love stuff like that. Well, Leroy knows because he's on our program nearly every week. I love space. People love space. They want to reach for the stars, Mick.
I have to say, so my toddler was an astronaut. She loves Mae Jemison. She was an astronaut for Halloween. We're big space lovers in this house. I mean, I'm not discrediting and discounting the fact that perhaps money could be better used elsewhere, but I am a sucker for space nostalgia, especially when it's sustainable, because there is space debris. People don't necessarily know about that, but the space debris we have to be taken into account. So yeah, I'm a big space lover, but yeah, maybe we need to be a bit more considerate about where we're spending our cash.
And if we don't go to the moon, well, and if we don't go to the moon, if the West doesn't go to the moon, China's going to throw a coat on it, Leroy.
Well, I mean, I do have to agree. I mean, this program has been way over budget and slipped way over to the right many, many years. And frankly, SpaceX has been working on the Starship program a much shorter amount of time and has made great strides. And in fact, is trying to launch their first orbital flight test without astronauts on board in the next several months. And so you're right. Your other guest was correct. There could be done. SpaceX has demonstrated that they can do things very quickly and much less expensively than the old-fashioned way. And so hopefully we can get some kind of a hybrid in there where we can leverage the many, many decades of operational experience and expertise of NASA with the nimbleness and the innovation of a SpaceX kind of an outfit, and we can get there more quickly and more efficiently, and frankly, much better off and leaving enough money to continue to build these sustainable programs. So because frankly, the Artemis program and the way it is right now is not really on a sustainable trajectory. NASA's own Inspector General says that.
Yeah. Well, the good news for you, Leroy, is that Mick's no longer in charge of the budget. So there you go. Thank you very much for coming back on the programme. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you.